Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Kelly Mescher-Collins of the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're visiting with Kelly Markey, founder and executive director of Dorothy's House. It's a safe place for survivors of human trafficking, exploitation, and prostitution. And it helps those affected begin a journey of healing. But before we get to today's interview, let's find out what's on the Bishop's mind.
So full disclosure, we have to do a pre-record here at Kelly because it's as we're heading on this Friday the 10th into the most wonderful time of the year.
Right.
NCAA basketball and the Big 12 tournament. Pope Francis encourages all of us to make an exodus out of ourselves. I don't think he was talking about the horde going down I-35 to Kansas City. I
don't have those little flags yet, but I will buy them so people know.
And you won't be wearing pink, probably. Cardinal.
I'll be wearing this pink. I'm sorry, but I will be in red.
You know you have a place to stay, though, right?
I do. My sister lives down there. I'll be with her and her husband.
Is she a Cyclone fan, or does she just kind of tolerate your...
Yeah, she had a bad experience because she's a big KU fan.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so it could be a little frosty there, huh? What is the thermostat turned down here or what?
It's an opportunity to get out, have fun and drink, and watch sports. So We'll be going to the Power and Light District. I don't have tickets, but it's okay. We'll be communing with probably 1,000 or 2,000 of our closest friends for all Iowa State fans, I'm sure.
A little Lenten respite there. Not a fish fry, but in that way.
But it'll be a good day. Looking forward to it.
May the men perform well. But, thinking in so many ways, and kind of the second week of Lent as we conclude. But we started, as always, with the second Sunday of Lent with the Transfiguration and that account there that I think kind of lifts all our sights to a different kind of mountain that we're trying to climb. And in that way in which we reflect, I was stirred in my own reflection that had been published not long ago about the riding the road to the sun. Excuse me, I kind of my R's here, but with a priest friend, and trying to do that at Montana's Glacier National Park, and we never got quite to the summit because we were kind of pulled off the road. We were being too observant of the curfew for cyclists, so we had to turn down. And let me tell you, that was a perilous affair too. But I think we go up and down during the Lenten moments. We might feel that we're making progress in our desire to make a new start and to allow the Lord to claim our hearts and find new freedom and all the things that maybe have ensnared us along the way. But the way in which then we can be present to other people at the same time, too. And I think our upcoming guest, Kelly Markey, is going to be a great instance of that. Now, I know that Dorothy's House is not itself a faith-based initiative, but, they're trying to accompany people, and women in particular, wherever they are, and to allow, I think, those movements of the Spirit, and then to support and accompany them and that inevitably, whether one is in a 12-step program or anything else, that there's that dimension where we all want to kind of transcend. We want to pass over, if you will, to a place where we can discover peace. And so I think to do that, fixing our eyes on Jesus for us who possess faith, to overcome the paralysis of fear and negotiate those hazards of frustration and futility that we can become so consumed by and obsessed by at that time, so that ultimately we can see what lies beyond, where God's glory is present, but is sometimes hidden or obscured by the challenges that we face. So it would be interesting to talk to Kelly and bring that out, but hope people are continuing to avail themselves of the channels of grace that are here, our priests who provide those moments, a little change in the formula of absolution, not more God the Father of mercies, who reconciled the world to himself, rather than saying sent the Holy Spirit, poured out the Holy Spirit, is more an accurate translation of the original text. And so don't feel like you're having an illicit form of absolution or questions of scrupulosity about whether it was a valid celebration of the sacrament. The important thing is to go and experience that. Father Don Zappel at St. Cecilia's in Ames will allow me to hear confessions, but we're going to be celebrating this weekend, Kelly, with our mom, Marilyn Symington Joensen, 90 years on the 13th. So, yeah.
Where's the canned clapping there, Jimmy? The party.
Yeah, Mom is the last one who wants to shine a light on herself, but she's going to tolerate us kind of celebrating. So I can't devote my homily to her in any way, shape, or form, but just simply to be present with her, and her Irish wit will be on display as well.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah, so.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Elite Glass and Metal, LLC in Johnson, a full-service glass and glazing contractor serving Des Moines and surrounding areas. New construction, existing projects, and residential. Learn more at EliteGlassandMetal.com.
Mary's Meals provides hope with a nutritious meal served to over 2 million children in 20 countries every school day. Mary's Meals, a simple solution to world hunger. Learn more at marysmealsusa.org. A message from Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Knights of Columbus, Borman, and Pfeiffer Agency. Serving the Catholic families in Iowa, the Knights of Columbus is a fraternal benefit society providing financial security to members and their families, specializing in life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability income insurance, and retirement annuities. You can reach Knights of Columbus Field Agent Gregory Waddle at 563-689-6801. That's 563-689-6801. Thank you, and God bless.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Our guest today is Kelly Markey, founder and executive director of Dorothy's House. Dorothy's House is a safe place for survivors of human trafficking, exploitation, and prostitution. It helps those affected begin a journey of healing.
So we'll be turning from Kelly with a Y to Kelly with an IE here.
Right.
But good morning and welcome to you, Kelly. Thank you for being on with us. You're no stranger to Iowa Catholic Radio, but this is our first encounter, and I have a lot to learn here about Dorothy's House and everything else. But the show is called Making It Personal, and just maybe to recount a little bit of your own kind of personal path, because there were many avenues and doors open to you, but the door of Dorothy House, which you've helped to open for others, and what kind of led you there, and how, was this a spiritual journey in any way?
Very much so. When people ask me the question about why you choose to open a recovery home for the people with the greatest need in your community, I think for me it has been 50-some years of preparation. And looking back, I realized that all of the careers and jobs that I've had along the way have prepared me for this. A 15-year career in marketing and advertising and business development, but also, the few years that I spent flipping homes leading up to Dorothy's House led me to not be afraid of the house when I found it.
Okay.
But literally.
The physical structure.
The physical structure, yep, right, because I'd seen just about everything that could happen to an old house and wasn't afraid that we couldn't restore the house. But really, the day that I visited the home, completely by accident, I walked in and literally walked from the back of the house into the vestibule in the front where light is shining through these beautiful stained glass windows. And immediately I knew what it was going to be called. And at the time, thought that we would be working with girls with severe sexual assault and abuse profiles because I didn't know about human trafficking yet. But the house told me to start and look deeper. And within 6 months, I was in a week-long seminar about the issue of human trafficking in Iowa and decided that if I was going to apply this much effort, personal effort, to changing the way that we look at caring for people in our community, I would do it for the people who need it the most. And it was great because it really helped shape and form and narrow our vision. And everything happened from there.
So God had kind of placed the mission or the vision on your heart in a way, but, even as you're describing the physical structure, you're using kind of churchy language here, vestibule and things like that. So, you do have a kind of background in the parochial education and things, but, that faith atmosphere that was there. But so this kind of the resonance of what was already your passion to be for most vulnerable. You weren't a social worker by training or anything, a professional woman, out in the business community in that way. So was it encounters with particular persons that really kind of sparked this for you?
It was a number of experiences over about 4 or 5 years that really solidified it. So I started volunteering with Youth Emergency Services and Shelter and met a young girl whose hope and optimism for life did not come from her personal experience. And I felt like what I was doing as a volunteer, painting fingernails, doing crafts, was not showing up in a way that was meaningful enough for me, and probably using my capacity to help and to serve. And she was so inspiring to me that I ended up getting my foster parenting license and had a number of circumstances where I was awakened to what children in our community are surviving. And so it literally was just a progression of those experiences and feeling called to do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more so you can be ready for the impact of what we do now.
Yeah, so it wasn't like you were all in right away, but it really was a progressive immersion.
It has to be. It really has to be, because you can't conceive, I think, as someone who has not been in human services or any background in this space, to go to the level of a Dorothy's house without that progression taking you there.
Mm-hmm. And did you have people who kind of were accompanying you and offering you insight, or kind of reflecting back to you what was on your heart? Or was this kind of it sounds like, you wanted to have that ongoing relationship with this particular young woman and others.
So I quickly started doing some outreach to local churches who were talking about the issue of human trafficking and wanting to find ways to help and provide resource, and put together a small advisory committee or team from that group of people. And the first time that a group of people stood around me and prayed with me was in the second home that we purchased. And we were still under renovations on both homes. And it was a step function change for how I did outreach to help me and support me in the process of opening Dorothy's house.
A step change. Okay, that's another new term to me here, so thank you.
It means big.
Okay.
And different, yeah.
Okay. Well, and in this season of Lent, I think we're all hopefully encountering some step changes that we need to be about here in the second week that we're finishing now on this day. And it's not just all about fish fries, right, Kelly? I mean,
that's right.
We like our fish fries.
My husband works them too, so I'm usually I call myself a Lenten widow.
Yeah. So is this kind of like an alternative universe that you were then drawn into, and that some people are aware, but for our listeners, just, where, in central Iowa, you kind of think about the heartland, but here we are at the intersection of some interstates, obviously in the western part, I-29 and I-80, here I-35. But is there something, here that is kind of, I don't want to say foster, because that has a positive connotation, but kind of incites or stirs, this human trafficking phenomenon?
So the issue of human trafficking is, and the way that it plays out is different in every location. It happens everywhere in the world, but it does take on different traits and characteristics depending on where you are. So the south side of Chicago, human trafficking does not look like Des Moines, Iowa. And most cities have major intersections in them. So 80 and 35, I think there's a misconception about the interstates bringing that to us. But transport is a big part of this crime, moving people around and taking them to where the demand is. In Iowa, we see mostly what we call place-based trafficking, or trafficking in place, which means that individuals are being trafficked by people who they're in relationships with, whether it's a parent, an uncle, someone in their school network that is older than them, whether it is a boyfriend, in air quotes, husband, a drug dealer, perhaps. So usually it's a false relationship or a real relationship that is now transactional.
Wow. I mean, and the malevolence involved in this, and the deception, but that it is people even within one's family bond and network, the perversion of what this is meant to be, by God's design. Everything
from a single mom who needs to make rent, who will sell her children, up to drug dealers who just recognize that you can sell a drug once, but you can sell people on both ends of that transaction. The darkness and the manipulation that goes into it is unimaginable.
Mm-hmm. And, that's something, that stirs in, whether it's drug use or something, and the need for funds and things to support that. But there just seems like an insidious hatred that ultimately that you cease to be a person in the eyes of the other.
I think maybe not so much hatred, it's greed, power, it's money. It's all about money. And also mental health. I think that people with certain mental health conditions view other people as just property or items that can be traded on. I don't think they have much of a personal attachment to humanity. And I think there's some mental health conditions that belie that. But it really is people who prey on others' needs, whether it's a young girl looking for relationship or affirmation or boyfriend, up to and including someone who needs somewhere to sleep or something to eat. So it's very transactional in the relationship.
Okay. When I use the word hatred, it's more generic sense. When we do not will the good of the other person, but seek to deny that or cancel it in some way. So,
yeah. The darkness is just profound.
Does it happen that there are relationships that maybe start out on a pretty decent basis and then just something sours in that, like you say, the manifestation of the mental illness or persons go into that, and then that just kind of, it's a downward spiral then, or is it, It's 100 different things. Okay.
It really, if it's a mother who is trying to make rent, I mean, for sure she has love for those children, but is desperate. For people in the sex trade, 99.9% of those people, for them, they may feel like it's a choice, but it's their last choice. And if it's only one, is it really choice? If that's the only way they can think, or that they've learned their sense of value and worth, that they can support themselves and their families, it's not really a choice. And so it's a very obviously risky environment to get caught up into, but there are just hundreds of different ways in which people become vulnerable to perpetrators of this crime.
Mm-hmm. And your website is listing vulnerability factors and methods of manipulation. But the mental illness seems to be kind of pervasive not only by the perpetrators, but by those who are obviously the victims.
I think mental health is a vulnerability, but also an outcome of this crime. The co-occurring mental health conditions that we work with our participants on are very, very significant. And unfortunately, most of them have been diagnosed in crisis situations, in emergency rooms and things like that, which is a terrible way to understand someone's mental stability. And then they are medicated in ways that aren't very productive sometimes. So unraveling the mental health conditions, sobriety is job number one for sure. But understanding the foundation of the mental health conditions that are existing with our participants is clearly job number two.
Okay. So there's definitely a clinical dimension of the services that you're providing, and how you...
That we provide access for them, too. So we don't have therapists on staff. We reach out to the community and Broadlawns is our go-to hospital currently for all of the health care that these women receive. Once they're in therapeutic relationships, we have to go to a broader network just in order to have enough people to choose from, and who take their insurance and things like that. But initially, for psychiatric consultations and crisis observation and immediate medication needs, we lean pretty heavily on Broadlawns for that.
Okay. Well, a marvelous relationship that you have. So, again, the genesis of Dorothy's House, and why Dorothy's House even, why that name that you've chosen.
Yeah, it goes back to the very beginning when I was a volunteer and just a person who inspired me to take the next step and to really realize that maybe I have a little bit more to give, a little bit more to give, and a little bit more to give, and just to keep being open-minded and open-hearted to those opportunities, because it is such a privilege to serve.
The wisdom and the great truth there. Do referrals, how does someone come to cross your threshold? And I'm presuming mainly all women that would be with your community, but obviously men are implicated in some ways. But or do some self-present because they hear about you through some channel?
It's a little bit of everything now. Initially, most of our referrals came from shelters, homeless shelters and domestic violence shelters, but also behavioral health hospitals who are trained enough to recognize the symptoms of human trafficking, because most people don't realize they've been trafficked. Most people feel like because they've been so deeply manipulated that they chose this path with their perpetrator. And so we do get individual referrals as well, but behavioral health and shelters are our dominant way of identifying participants.
So there's such a distortion of reality that the person doesn't even know they're in this kind of pathological,
That's right.
Yeah, toxic relationship in that way. So what would happen? I mean, you say sobriety is job one, the typical stay and that. Do you have some people like come with you and then they kind of freak out and they say, I'm out of here? Or, I mean, is it people revolving doors sometimes?
People freak out over the whole 2 years. So it is a long-term 2-year restoration program with 3 phases. Phase 1 is very structured in order to reduce chaos in their life and to start applying services. I think we may be the only agency of our type that doesn't require 30 days of sobriety because addiction is real for all of them. Mm-hmm. If they don't have a journey with sobriety, we might look for an inpatient solution for them before joining us, but we'll hold a bed, which is also pretty rare. And then, they build a care plan, and we do assessments to manage their progress throughout the time and really just help them achieve greater and greater independence over that 2 years so that at the end, she doesn't rely on anyone for any of her needs to take care of herself or her children, because therein lies the vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. So that gradual empowerment that happens, and children also reside at Dorothy House if they have children?
They don't currently, okay. But they're oftentimes reunited with their children during their time with us. And so we make accommodations. And our last phase is actually in an apartment of their own. Okay.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Would you like to get more involved as a volunteer? Intervisions Healthcare empowers at-risk women facing an unplanned pregnancy to make life-affirming decisions, but our nursing staff can't do it alone. Our Unplanned Pregnancy Clinic seeks dedicated advocates, receptionists, and nursing volunteers to meet the needs of hundreds of at-risk patients we see each year. If you are a people person who wants to help moms with unplanned pregnancies, contact us today at 515-440-2273 or visit ivhcare.org.
And we're back with Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. We are back with Kelly Markey, founder and executive director of Dorothy's House.
Kelly, thanks for remaining with us, and I just want to let people know who are listening in our audience that there are ways in which they might help and donate, volunteers, whether directly or indirectly, and you're always welcome to receive them, but obviously some oversight to make sure that their engagement would be appropriate.
Yeah, we use about 100 individuals a year who will do about 1,000 hours of service for us, anything from working directly with our participants, teaching life skills, job skills. We even are looking currently for someone who is a style coordinator for the women in our care who oftentimes come to us with nothing. And we
there you go, Kelly.
Yeah, no kidding. You're very stylish. And we look to people to bring credibility to those topics. So if you have an interest or you do these things already, it helps lend credibility, but also reduces the need for our staff to be experts in everything.
Marvelous. And 3 locations, obviously discrete locations, but marking different phases of the process in this 2-year relationship.
Yeah, so the original house that we bought is actually phase 2 in our program currently. We were able to rebuild one of the homes on our property, and we just completed it last year. And in April had the opportunity to buy a 6-plex apartment building that not only will house our phase 3 when it's completed here soon, but also allow us to tiptoe our toes into the crisis space, for which there are no resources currently for women who need a solution today.
And so the Dorothy's House website, obviously people who want to or offer some financial support, maybe they're Lenten almsgiving, this would be a beautiful channel for them to express that in any way. Do you receive any kind of government funding to support?
We really don't. We have applied for government funding in the past, and it usually comes with so many ways that prevent us from being creative and for working differently in the space of care because they're learning. The money they give is an opportunity for them to gather data, and we don't really want to limit our ability to care and to work very uniquely for people by having those kinds of handcuffs put on us. So, and it's very hard to get, and it's very hard to manage, and we're just too small for a $500,000 federal grant that would take 2 people to manage reporting on. I don't have 2 people to do that.
Yeah. So the data collection, and you're not the object of a research project.
That's right. I'm happy to participate, but not for money, probably.
All right. Beautiful. And, we think about money. Money really is the insidious engine driving all this. And, one might think that this is kind of a male-dominated sick enterprise, if you will, but the role of women on women and the kind of victimization.
Yeah, women are oftentimes recruiters, groomers. They're often called the top or the bottom, which are 2 roles inside the trafficking organization that women play to care for the girls that are in a ring or with a perpetrator. But a little bit on money for an individual who is in a behavioral health hospital or in prison, which are the most likely outcomes for a survivor of this crime, we will spend somewhere between $400 and $1,000 a day on their sleep and food. Very little care or restoration. And we operate just under $400,000 a year, and we'll serve 12 to 15 women. And it's really hard to come up with a cost per day, but it's under $200. And at the end of this, we have people who are off our systems of care, not even usually Medicaid eligible. And the belief is that for even a rape victim, $500,000 over their course in cost. And we are turning these individuals or helping these individuals become completely financially independent in our community.
Wow. It may not be an impetus of faith, and obviously people of all faiths or no faith are welcome and on your staff, but this is truly God's work that you're performing. And so thank you for your witness, Kelly, and spending time with us today.
And our staff are true missionaries.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.